Recording in progress. Can we begin the housekeeping comments, please?
Thank you for participating in today's meeting. If attending in person, please do not connect to Zoom or teleconference while in the room, and please silence all devices. If translation is provided, click on the globe at the bottom of your screen to select either English or Spanish. Public comment will be taken after each item. If you're in the auditorium and wish to comment, please use the iPads located in the lobby or complete a blue speaker card as available. If you need assistance, please find a South Coast AQMD employee. Speakers may be limited to a total of 3 minutes or less for all agenda items. Times may be shortened to ensure all speakers can be heard. A countdown timer will be displayed on the screen for each public comment. More time will be allotted for Spanish translation that is not simultaneous. For questions or issues on making a public comment, please call the public advisor at 909-396-2432. That's 909-396-2432. Please adhere to the speaker time limit and treat others with courtesy, civility, and respect. Failure to do so can result in your mic being muted or you being removed from the meeting. Be aware that this meeting is being recorded. By participating, you authorize recording of audio and visual content presented during the live event and consent to subsequent use of the recording in the public domain by South Coast AQMD.
Gracias por participar en la reunión de hoy. Si asiste en persona, favor de no conectarse a la conferencia telefónica o Zoom mientras esté en el auditorio y silencie sus dispositivos. Si traducción es disponible, haga clic en el icono de globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla para seleccionar inglés o español. Se tomarán comentarios del público después de cada punto. Si se encuentra en el auditorio y desea dar comentario, utilice los iPads ubicados en el vestíbulo o complete una tarjeta azul según esté disponible. Si necesita ayuda, localice a un empleado de South Coast AQMD. Los comentarios pueden ser limitados a un total de 3 minutos o menos para todos los puntos de la agenda. El tiempo límite puede ser reducido para que todos los comentarios puedan ser escuchados. Se mostrará un temporizador de cuenta regresiva en la pantalla para cada comentario público. Se asignará más tiempo para traducción al español si no es simultáneo. Si tiene preguntas o problemas sobre cómo hacer un comentario público, llame al asesor público al 909-396-2432. 909-396-2432. Respete el tiempo límite y favor de tratar a los demás con cortesía, civilidad y respeto. De lo contrario, es posible que se silencie el micrófono o que sea retirado de la reunión. Tenga en cuenta que esta reunión está siendo grabada. Al participar, usted autoriza la grabación de audio y contenido visual presentado durante el evento en vivo y da su consentimiento para el uso de la grabación en el dominio público por parte de South Coast AQMD.
All right, good morning, everybody. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Vice Chair?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Please stand, face our American flag, right hand over your heart. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Faye, do you want to make the announcement before we do roll call?
Yes, I think we have one more board member who's joining us remotely. So let's just give that person another minute or so, and then we'll proceed. Be my recommendation.
Krakow's here.
Okay.
Supervisor. You're talking about codes. He's on. Okay. Yeah, he's taking over.
Due to a board members Mitchell, Padilla, Campos, and Krakow are requesting to participate remotely due to a physical or family medical emergency that prevents them from attending, namely the ongoing fires. Would any board member like to make a motion to approve that?
Second.
Could we take a quick roll call for that, please, Faye?
Mayor Locke Dawson,
Aye.
Supervisor Hackman,
Board Member Krakow,
Yes. Yes.
Councilmember McCallan,
Yes.
Supervisor Mitchell,
Aye.
Board Member Padilla-Campos,
Yes.
Supervisor Perez is absent. Councilmember Rahman is absent. Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez,
Yes.
Supervisor Wagner, Vice Chair Caciotti,
Yes.
and Chair Delgado.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Board Member Krakow, I'd recommend that you leave your camera on if that's,
I think he's on the phone.
thank you. Also, I'd like to ask if any of the people who are board members who are participating remotely have any individuals 18 years of age or older present with them at the room at which they're participating, and if so, the general nature of the relationship with any such individuals. Are there any individuals in any of the remote locations other than the board members? Seeing no hands.
Well,
Uh,
not in the room, but in my house, my husband.
that- Yeah, then if they're not in the room, that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you, board member. We can proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Wayne, I'll turn it over to you if you can just describe how we're handling this meeting.
Thank you, Chair. Given the pending emergencies with the wildfires, the meeting is being conducted under the conditions of AB 2449, hence the vote that you all just took right now to allow the remote participation. Today, we'll be hearing a number of items. Those items are detailed within the agenda, but what I would normally do beforehand is just to give you a brief update on some of the pending things that the staff is working on. It's been a heck of a new year, the way that it started. Let me just say this in response to the devastating fires, South Coast AQMD has been actively engaged. We've issued an executive order allowing for the continued use of emergency engines without concerns on compliance, and we'll deal with those issues. We're also in the process of distributing N95 masks, approximately 4,000. We have more on order to help distribute to those that are impacted by the fires. And we continue to provide technical as well as communications outreach to the media and to the general public, particularly with regards to updating on the impacts of air quality, what those results mean, and providing extensive information. And our communications and our technical staff have been working tirelessly on that. I just wanted to recognize all of their work on that aspect. Also, just want to note that later this month, we'll be having a Martin Luther King Day celebration where we will be working with Leadership Long Beach, and staff will be volunteering to participate in the construction of a community garden. And that event will take place on Monday, January 20th from 8:30 to 1 o'clock p.m. That concludes my comments. And now we would just proceed with the normal due course of the meeting, Chair.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I do want to offer really just our heartfelt thoughts and prayers to those impacted by the fires. I know our own board members have been as well. So you are in our prayers, and I definitely want to give the other board members an opportunity to say anything if you like before we start this meeting.
Madam Chair, just as follow up on your comments, I really do want to express my condolences. I represent for all of LA County and parts of Ventura that have been impacted by these fires. Particularly the cities I represent in Eastern LA County do include Altadena, Pasadena, La Cañada. I spoke to some of the residents there yesterday, Sierra Madre that have been impacted, and especially, as you mentioned, one of our board members who's on the call miraculously lost his house, Gideon Krakow. I just moved to Altadena. I want to thank him for participating and send him our love and prayers. We want to help. But again, Wayne, whatever we can do to get the word out there about just the health impacts of this terrible catastrophe. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Supervisor Wagner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to, number one, echo the comments by the Vice Chair with respect to how horrible this is. I will tell you that the County of Orange, our Orange County Fire Authority, has already dispatched units to assist. Our Orange County Sheriff's Department has done the same thing. That is in the normal course and part of mutual aid. We recognize that when we need the same assistance, we get it from LA County. And so I want to make sure that that folks realize this is an entire Southern California effort. It is all hands on deck. I will also add for folks that are out there in the affected areas, my district has gone through nowhere near as extensive, but similar issues in the past in the cities I represent of Yorba Linda and some of our canyon areas. To the extent, once the crisis passes, if there is help we can provide and just information we can provide as to how we've come through these issues in the past and best practices going forward. I am a phone call away from any of my colleagues who would like to know what this county has done, and we pledge our complete cooperation and our assistance. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor. Mayor Lock-Dawson.
Similar to Supervisor Wagner, City of Riverside's dispatched multiple units in mutual aid, but also I just wanted to not only express my condolences, but offer our help. We have a lot of people in the City of Riverside who are very concerned and would like to assist in some way. So I know you can contact the mayor's office, or I know folks have offered up their houses. So we just, we all need to come together in a situation like this, and it doesn't matter where you're from or what your background. I think we all just need help. So we're here to help, and condolences and much love to you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, board members. With that, we'll move forward. Go ahead, Wayne.
Chair, it appears that Supervisor
Perez.
Perez is on the line. So Supervisor Perez is requesting to participate remotely due to a physical or family emergency, namely a medical issue. Would any board member like to make a motion to approve his request?
Second.
Mayor Lock-Dawson,
Aye.
Supervisor Hagman, Board Member Krakoff,
Yes.
Councilmember McCowan,
Yes.
Supervisor Mitchell,
Yes.
Board Member Padilla-Campos,
Yes.
Supervisor Perez,
Aye.
Councilmember Rahman is absent. Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez,
Yes.
Supervisor Wagner, Vice Chair Caciotti,
Yes.
and Chair Delgado.
Yes.
Motion passes.
And I do see Supervisor Mitchell's hand raised.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was a little slow to the draw. I just felt compelled to say that, I have no words to reflect accurately the level of devastation. And I appreciate the sentiments shared by my elected colleagues. I deeply appreciate our colleague showing up today, given his personal circumstance. And I think this is a perfect example of why government exists, why AQMD exists. And I just think it's important for us to all understand that this will be a long-term recovery that will require long-term partnership and investment from the federal level down to the work we do at South Coast Air Quality Management District. It's going to require all of us to lean in and be present and provide immediate support to those impacted and long-term representation of the entire region given the impact the air quality given its impact on air quality for an indeterminate amount of time. I just had to say that there are no words to describe what we're experiencing. And thank you all for your thoughts and prayers. And I'm going to call on you to step up and help. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor.
And Chair, I just, with respect to Supervisor Perez, good morning. I just wanted to inquire whether there are any individuals 18 years of age or older present in the room with you at the remote location?
No, there's no one here.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, these are incredible circumstances, but we have lots of work to do here at AQMD to continue to be of service to the public. So we're going to move forward with our agenda today and have quite a bit of participation online. We did encourage people to participate online. So we'll be going through the agenda and making allowances for public comment online. And that brings us to general public comments. These are for comments, public comments on
Excuse me.
item. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, got distracted with that.
Okay.
Go ahead. No,
Okay, Mayor Locke Dawson,
Here.
Supervisor Hagman, Board Member Krakoff,
Here.
Councilmember McCowan,
Here.
Supervisor Mitchell,
Here.
Board Member Padilla Campos,
Here.
Supervisor Perez,
Here.
Councilmember Rahman is absent, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez,
Here.
Supervisor Wagner, Vice Chair Caciotti,
Here.
and Chair Delgado.
and I'm here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Thank you for that. All right, going back to general public comment, these are for comments for items that are not on the agenda. And I'm going to give people a minute to queue up. The vice chair will handle our items online. And then I'll ask to see if there's anybody here who would like to speak on general public comment items. I don't see anybody here.
Madam Chair, we do have 4 people signed up for comments.
Okay.
Under the public comment, we have 2. Thomas Jelenich.
Thomas, please join us.
Good morning, Chair Delgado. Good morning, board members. It's been a difficult week. My name's Thomas Jelenich, as I know you all know, with the Pacific Merchant Shipping Association.
Your mic's not on.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, okay. Good morning, Chair, board members. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's been a difficult week. First I'd like to start by asking that we all take a moment today to think about what we can do as individuals to help the people that have been impacted by the unfolding tragedy before us. We all know personally people who've been affected by this, and it's my family has luckily not been impacted, but it's devastating to see the toll it's taking on our local communities, and hopefully we can all get through this together and stronger, and we take some time to support each other here. Basically, what I would like to talk to you this morning about is the indirect source rule and the work that this district is doing on moving toward an infrastructure effort. I appreciate the work that the district and the board and its leadership is taking with regard to infrastructure. And PMSA, I think I can say on behalf of all stakeholders, everyone recognizes infrastructure is the key to a zero emissions future in the port complex. And I think I can speak on behalf of industry, the ports, and labor to say that we all firmly believe that an agreement on infrastructure is going to serve us and the region the best in terms of reaching our zero emission goal. So we would like to continue to work with you over the coming months as you develop an approach on infrastructure that serves the region, the ports, and our local communities in terms of reaching zero emissions while maintaining vibrant and strong ports. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you for that. That brings us to Patricia Aguirre.
Hello, my name is Patricia Aguirre, and I am representing the longshore workers. I'm a marine clerk in the port of Long Beach in LA. I work there. And I'm here representing our union, and I want to urge the board to address port emissions through an infrastructure first approach as opposed to a rule. The ISR, as it's currently discussed, risk creating undue regulatory burdens that fail to address the root causes of emissions effectively while threatening the efficient operations of the supply chain. Marine terminal operations are clearly are already governed by numerous environmental regulations, and our members have witnessed firsthand the progress made in reducing port emissions through collaborative investments in technology and infrastructure. Initiatives like the Clean Trucks program and the transition to shore power have been achieved through partnerships, not punitive mandates. We need now to further invest in clean infrastructure and technology to continue this progress. Marine terminals require funding and incentives to upgrade equipment, expand electrification, and improve operational efficiencies. Tackling emissions in this way ensures sustainable improvements without jeopardizing the livelihoods of our workers who depend on the port. As the backbone of the good movements industry, ILWU supports a balanced approach that protects jobs, fosters economic growth, and addresses environmental challenges collaboratively. An ISR, as it is currently envisioned, does not achieve this balance and risks creating unintended consequences that could stifle innovation and penalize workers and communities. We urge the AQMD to focus on advancing infrastructure-based solutions that build on the successes we have already achieved together, instead of moving forward with an ISR framework that may compromise both the economy and the environment. Let's collaborate to ensure that progress is made in a way that uplifts all of us stakeholders. Thank you for your time and consideration, and we look forward to working with you to develop solutions that protect both our environment and our economy.
Thank you so much for your comments. I'll turn it over to the Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't see any hands raised, Wayne.
We have 3 hands raised. 3. Sorry. Would you like me to call them, Vice Chair?
Please, yes.
The first hand is a phone number ending in the last 3 digits of 177. If that person could unmute their line.
Hello? Hello, am I being heard?
Yes, Harvey, you are being heard.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning. Damn it. My name's Harvey Eder. I'm outside. There's a little noise. I'm in Santa Monica, and we got problems with the fire here. I was exposed to asbestos working 50 years ago on the pipeline and fired for calling a safety meeting, wildcat strikes, all this stuff cover up with OSHA garbage. I'm concerned personally, and for everybody. I want to do a shout out. There's a couple things I want to hit on to crack up. I just heard he lost his house. I'm sorry, man. And other folks that have been affected. Okay, this is climate. Okay, yesterday on NPR, they had the head of the Weather Service for LA Oxnard talking about it. All right. So we're the only ones that talked up after 15 years in March of last year on this. And also, before I forget, this fires. Okay, San Francisco burned to the ground in 2006 after the earthquake. 1857, we had an earthquake of similar 8.3. And we're way overdue, and fires come with it. And this is like a warning for that, and to get rid of the weak water pressure in Palisades. We got to deal with this, and it's part of this district. All right, I'm sorry. Now, there's all kinds of things on there addressing climate in this meeting coming up. This meeting's got to be canceled. We're challenging this remote thing, and there's all kinds of process problems. that this stuff with the climate, you knew this money was coming down. You, Trump's in office, and you waited to the last damn minute, and you did not involve equity issues. CEQA and NEPA require that, and you're discriminating against us and people like us that are marginal in wealth and all this stuff. And this democracy is being shattered. The social contract is not anymore. Now they're trying to call a constitutional convention. Enough is enough. This stuff about the 14th Amendment, okay, we're incorporating, we made comments on Washington Journal on the 6th for 3 minutes, they cut off for 3 minutes. So we tried to protest this 4 years ago, that it was, he pulled out of Paris, he denies, brings it on the Chinese, 90% of photovoltaics come from China. And Israel, remember, the only ones that do solar thermal, 90% in Israel. And it started here 150 years ago, and there's nothing. You're doing heat pumps and all kinds of stuff to get into the ozone layer and other crap. And you're not dealing with issues of control and decision making. Who's going to own it and control it? This is a captured agency. You're captured agencies, and that's the way it is. I'm sorry. Nobel went out. Stiglitz in 82 economics. The only solution is public power. All right. Enough said. We'll talk later on specifics. There's got more to. You got to listen to us. Enough. Bye.
Thank you, Harvey. Our final speaker for public comment. And again, we'll give you a minute to raise your hand. If you want to speak, is Whitney Squire. Whitney, go ahead.
Hi, good morning. I'm Whitney Squire, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors of California. Our board and I stand with our association in calling for the urgent action regarding the pending litigation against the district over the invalidity of similar zero NOx rules under the Energy Policy and Conservation Act. We do strongly urge the board to retract these additional proposed rules, or at least postpone their implementation until the litigation reaches its conclusion.
Sounds like the speaker is referring to item number 2.
I apologize. I'm sorry. Did I jump the gun? I apologize.
Yes, that's okay. You can speak during that portion, which will be coming up soon.
Oh, I apologize. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Whitney. And we're going to close public comment now with our final speaker, just has a hand raised with iPhone. Go ahead, please. You got 3 minutes.
Good morning, board members. This is Adrian Martinez with Earth Justice. I wasn't going to testify, but hearing some of the comments that are happening forthcoming, I just wanted to give some brief comments. First off, I want to thank staff and the board members for all their amazing work in this time. And I just want to articulate one thing. There were a lot of folks concerned about issues ranging from the Port ISR to buildings who were going to testify this morning, but we asked people not to, mainly because we don't think this is the time to have these debates. We need to get through this air quality crisis before, having these discussions. So I just want to reflect that a lot of people are displaced, a lot of people couldn't get there, aren't going to testify. So the lack of comments that might support efforts to clean the air, don't view it as people not caring or not supporting these efforts. It's just, we ask people to focus on their families, focus on their health, and remain safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. Totally respect that. And obviously, we all struggle to know whether or not to proceed with the agenda. So thank you for those comments. But we're going to... Okay. All right, we're going to move forward with the consent and board calendar. It's items 1 through 28. Do any board members need to make any statements before I take public comment? Supervisor Wagner? Oh, sorry.
Agnew.
No, I called the first name, sorry.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Right. Thank you, Madam Chair. With respect to Agenda 4, I don't have a financial interest, but I'm required to identify for the record that I'm a member of the Transportation Committee and the Regional Council of SCAG and the Legislative Council of SCAG, and the Southern California Association's government is involved in this item.
Supervisor Hagman.
Thank you. I'll copy that. I'm the president of SCAG and involved I am required to identify for the record, a regional council member for Southern California Associated Government involved in this item number 4. Thank you.
Councilmember McCallum.
Ditto to that.
Okay. Mayor Luck Dawson.
Similarly, I am a SCAG board member, regional council member, and I don't have a financial interest in item 4, but I'm required to identify for the record that I serve on that board. Thank you.
Any questions or comments before we take public comment on these items?
Bay, do I have any today?
Yes, but that's not until item number 32. Supervisor Mitchell, would you like me to read yours for you?
I'm sorry, I got a little distracted. Yes, I need to disclose on item 4 that I'm recusing myself from agenda item 4 because of campaign contributions from IBEW PAC Educational Fund that I received within the past 12 months.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's agenda item number 4.
Great. Anything else, Bay?
Yes, one more. Similarly, for item number 5, Supervisor Perez, I'm just disclosing for him that he's on the Sunlight Transit Agency, and that is involved in this item, and he's disclosing that for that purpose, item number 5.
Thanks for that, Bay. Appreciate it.
All right. With that, we're going to take public comment. We do have somebody signed up to speak on item number 2, Peter Whittingham here, and then I'll turn it over to the vice chair.
Excuse me. Thank you, Madam Chair and board members. Peter Whittingham speaking today on behalf of LA BizFed. Similar to the other comments that have been made, BizFed certainly is keeping everyone who's been affected by these fires in their thoughts. In fact, had a meeting yesterday of members to really examine every way in which the business community can lean in and be helpful to all local governments in terms of bringing forward suggestions, measures, what have you, and certainly assistance to all of those affected by the fire. So again, keeping everyone in our thoughts and prayers. Real briefly, wanted to speak to the item related to Rules 1111, 1121. Appreciate staff's recommendation and the Stationary Source Committee vote on moving the public hearing on these rules to April. I would note that I think for the first time in my memory, the April Governing Board meeting is expected to be conducted in coordination with your Governing Board retreat. And so with that, we would recommend that perhaps moving this to May would be more beneficial in terms of making sure that those who wish to participate in the discussion are able to do so here in Diamond Bar. But again, very much appreciate the recommendations and happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Vice Chair, online comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We've got 3 speakers. First speaker is Christopher Chavez. Christopher, welcome and go ahead.
Yes, good morning, board members. This is Chris Chavez with Coalition for Clean Air. First, want to echo my colleague Adrian Martinez's comments and express my appreciation to this board for your work, both in your AQMD capacity as well as your municipal capacities or county capacities in responding to both the fire itself and the public health crisis stemming from it. Certainly know, all our communities are affected one way or the others. Obviously, some much more than others. Also, want to express my condolences and sympathy to those who are losing property, losing their homes, or in some cases, losing loved ones in the fire. We know that there have been some fatalities in this, and the public health impacts may lead to more. So. Certainly a very difficult time for us all. Just wanted to express also that while we are disappointed to see the Rule 1111 and 1121 delayed, we do appreciate and are glad to see that there is some certainty that this rule will be heard at some point, whether in April, hopefully. We would oppose any further delays of the rule and certainly want to see this district stay on track in its passage and ultimately get cleaner equipment installed in Southern California. So again, urging the board to continue on, hold the course in getting this rule passed and ultimately across the line. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Next speaker is Jess Davis. Jess, go ahead, please.
Good morning. My name's Jessalyn Davis with SoCal Gas. I'm commenting on item 2. First, I would like to thank the board for taking stakeholders' concerns around affordability of these rules seriously. In addition to customer affordability issues, we remain concerned that proposed rules 1111 and 1121 are preempted by EPCA. These same concerns are now the subject of active litigation over South Coast AQMD Rule 1146.2. We think it would be prudent for the board to postpone this rulemaking until these issues are resolved by the courts. Thank you.
Thank you, Jess. Whitney Squire. Whitney, go ahead, please.
Thank you so much. Sorry about earlier. But I'm Whitney Squire, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors of California. Our association stands firm in calling for the urgent action regarding the pending litigation against the district over the invalidity of similar zero NOx rules under the EPCA Act. We strongly urge the board to retract these additional proposed rules, or at least postpone their implementation until the litigation reaches its conclusion. These rules, which effectively ban gas appliances, would pose significant financial burdens and disrupt the lives of countless individuals, including not just our members, but also consumers in general, workers, businesses, and manufacturers across the industry. We feel that moving forward with these regulations, even as soon as April, amidst ongoing legal challenges, is unwarranted and detrimental to all the parties involved. We do advocate for a more considered and just approach in this matter, and I do appreciate your time and attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Whitney. Next speaker is Harvey Eder. If you want to speak, please raise your hand. I'll be cutting off public comment at the end of Harvey's comments. Harvey, go ahead, please.
Hello. Hi. Good morning again. My name's Harvey Eder. I'm speaking for myself and for the Public Solar Power Coalition. On items 4, that's the $500 million, and you got basically half a majority of the boards moved away from that for decision making. The items on here have to do with 5 through 10. There's several, and you've got coming up hearings 11, 11, 11, 21, and it relates to solar and to NOx and so. It has to do with trying to make defense that the feds don't come in and put a federal implementation plan. Okay, there was one 30 years ago, which Anita Lee, who was head of planning for 9 circuits, denied. Okay, we had to educate them. That's not the way it's supposed to work. And they tried to keep us away from this. Okay, that's obstruction of justice, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Enough. Okay, you cannot go on with these. We're talking billions of dollars. You got another thing in there, oil and gas institute. They get 9 million and 10 million for overhead. Okay, that's maybe 5-10%. So we're talking, big numbers. And then the finance stuff, you're talking interest rate. You're talking billions of dollars here. So that's what's coming before it's all rushed, and it's now, and the stuff's being threatened by Trump, and it's got Musk on his side. We brought this up. We brought the thing about working with BYD. You got Joe Rogan taunting Musk and all this stuff. He's supporting the neo-Nazis in Germany and stuff. Okay,
No, Harvey,
enough.
You got to be on issue. Sorry, Bay.
Yeah, Mr. Eder, please make sure to focus your comments on the items that are specifically on the agenda. Thank you.
If you wrap it up, please. Focus on the agenda. Thank you, Harvey. That cuts off public comment. We have 2 final
Hello.
Okay, Harvey,
Okay. You got about these trucks on there. You got hundreds of millions of dollars for the trucks out of the ports. We've heard this stuff about the ports. Okay, they're saying Tesla and all this. BYD. Okay, this whole thing about the tariffs and coming in here. We propose working out a deal for rich and poor to leverage this and to do it anyway, and to bring the BYD factory from Mexico into California. They're making 1,500 truck buses a year. They agreed to do 5,000 Class 8 trucks a year 8 years ago when we brought up the
Thank you,
solar
Mr.
deal,
Eder.
and we
That's,
never studied.
not directly related to the items on the agenda. We're going to move forward to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Harvey. And now we'll cut off public comment. Our last speaker will be Richard Markinson. Next speaker right now is Wendy. Wendy, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I'm with the City of Mission Viejo. I'm the Mayor Pro Tem. I also serve as a immediate past chair of the Orange County Council of Governments, and I also serve on the Executive Committee of SCAG. I'm speaking on behalf of the city at this point, and we did send a letter, and I just wanted to take just a brief moment to respectfully urge the governing board to delay consideration and adoption of PAR 1121 to allow time for more robust public outreach and process so we can ensure our residents are properly informed and that questions regarding cost, technology, and the availability of potential incentives are able to be addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, council member. Next speaker is Peter Marsh from Long Beach. Peter, go ahead, please. I can't hear you. You might be on mute.
Sorry, I'm unmuted. Is that better now?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. Thank you, board. Good morning, Pete Marsh, member of the public. Want to reinforce a couple of things we've heard today. The Earth is a little over 2 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than in pre-industrial times, and that makes wildfires like those currently ravaging Southern California more probable and more severe. An interesting analogy, we can't point to any specific wildfire or hurricane or other extreme weather event and say that was caused by climate change, but we can say it's made more likely and more severe. I liken it to the 1998 baseball season when Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were chasing home run records and hit 10 more home
Thank you. If you could focus specifically on
All right.
the items.
I guess then reinforcing the comments that we express our thoughts and concerns for those impacted by these wildfires. This board does have the opportunity to take action beyond words and thoughts by passing rules 1111 and 1121. Those are focused on criteria pollutants, but they have the co-benefits of reducing global warming by reducing fossil fuel combustion. And so as a business owner and as a member of the public, I support those rules. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Next speaker, Richard Markinson. I see George Butcher. We'll let George speak too. George will be our last speaker. Richard Markinson, go ahead, please.
Good morning. I'm Richard Markinson, and I represent the Western Electrical Contractors Association, speaking to you this morning on item number 4, the contracts for the CPRG Invest Clean program. In particular, WICA is very concerned about provisions that are delineated in the item that require the use of a community benefits program in workforce development. This is really just a euphemism for a project labor agreement that is typically used by public agencies to preclude the use of open shop contractors, their employees, and apprentices from public works projects. Furthermore, it appears to authorize the payment of $5 million for workforce training, I believe, to the IBEW. I would point out to the board that these projects are going to be public works projects that mandate that contractors use registered apprentices. And so although we haven't reviewed the details of the contract and what IBEW will be delivering for their $5 million payment, and do note that the Technology Committee did review it in December, we're very much concerned that this is a double payment, kind of a payoff to IBEW in order to serve their support. And we would encourage the board members who have similar concerns to please take a look at these expenditures and the use of a project labor agreement for this very important energy project. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your meeting. And like the rest, WECA has reached out to its members, apprentices, and contractors in the affected region, and our hearts are heavy with the struggles that you're going through in Southern California. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Our final speaker, George Boutros, is that Orange County Business Council, OCBC?
Yes, hello, Chair and governing board members. And my name is George Boutros, and yes, I am from Orange County Business Council, or OCBC for short. Just wanted to make really brief comments here in regard to PARs 1111 and 1121. And let me start by saying that our thoughts are also with those impacted by the fires in Los Angeles County. In regard to the rules themselves, we echo the sentiment of some of the folks here today, asking for more time that for the board and staff to consider additional amendments to those rules that are more sensible and don't impact businesses or residents here in Orange County specifically. Part of that reasoning is because we believe high housing costs make it increasingly difficult for employers to attract and retain talent, particularly in sectors that rely on middle income and entry-level workers. Many businesses are already grappling with workforce shortages, and adding further pressure to the cost of living will only exacerbate those challenges. So in short, and to keep my comments brief, for those reasons, OCBC is asking for the board to consider more time for these amendments to be properly deliberated and before moving forward. And with that, I want to conclude my comments. Thank you for your time. Take care.
Thank you, George. I'll turn it back over to the chair.
Okay, I have a request to speak from Councilmember McKellen.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'd like to pull item 2 and for separate discussion and move the rest of the consent calendar.
Second.
Any other requests to speak? Okay, with that, we'll do a roll call on items 1 through 28, except for 2.
Mayor Locke Dawson,
Aye.
Supervisor Hagman, Board Member Krakoff,
Yes.
Councilmember McCallum,
Yes.
Supervisor Mitchell,
Yes.
Board Member Padilla Campos,
Yes.
Supervisor Perez,
Yes.
Councilmember Ramos is absent, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez,
Yes.
Supervisor Wagner, Vice Chair Cacchiotti,
Yes.
and Chair Delgado.
Yes.
Motion passes 11 to 0, 1 absent, and we do have 1 vacancy on the board.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll turn it over to Councilmember McCallum.
Thank you very much. Rules 11, 11, 11, 21 are rules that affect everybody in our district, all of the homeowners, all of the renters. And as a result, it's one that we need to get the costs correct. We need to get the cost effectiveness correctly taken care of. And as a result of that, when staff at our Stationary Source Committee asked for more time to do that, we approved that and moved it to April to explore the costs more better, get better cost data, and to be able to do more outreach to communities. So at the time, we said, well, let's move it to April, not realizing that April was a time when we were going to be in the desert. And I think it's important that we have a robust discussion with everybody participating, and it really needs to be back here in Diamond Bar, where it's more centrally located. And for a personal reason, I'd like to change it because I'm not going to be here in April. I'm going to be in Indonesia. And as chair of the Stationary Source Committee, I'd like to participate in the discussion and vote on this particular item. It's important, you know, we're talking about a rule that affects people with fixed incomes, people with in areas that are environmentally affected, environmental justice communities. We need to make sure we get this information and cost correct, because it's going to impact a lot of people that don't have a lot of money. And that's why it's important that we extend this time so that we can continue to get the correct information. I would like to move that we move the fixed the public hearing to the month of May 2nd, back here in Diamond Bar, so that we can have a robust discussion with everyone present. So that's my motion.
Thank you for that background, Councilmember. There's a motion, discussion, actions. Second, it's motion and second, a discussion. Supervisor Mitchell.
Thank you very much. As a member of the committee, we did have a robust conversation. I wasn't supportive of moving it, but Mr. Chair, given your absence in April, I will support your motion because I do think it's important that we have a robust conversation, and would certainly honor your role as chair of the committee to be a part of that process. I will just add, as I did in committee, that it's not enough for us to say it's an affordability issue and punt the conversation. I hope that we are going to truly, genuinely use this time between now and May to have real conversations about affordability and what we can proactively do to solve for that problem that has been identified. So I will be supporting your motion, Mr. Chair, because I do want you to be a part of that conversation and present. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Appreciate the comments. Thank you, Supervisor.
Board Member Padilla. Oh,
Thank you. I definitely agree with what Mr. McClellan shared, and that is the reason why we pushed it back to April to do our due diligence on everything. I am a little disappointed that we're suggesting yet another extension, because I do think that we are able to have a good conversation, even if it is remotely and we are in the desert. I don't think that's ever prevented us from having good conversations wherever it is that we are. Example today, you know, some of us are remote, and I think we can still get a lot of good work done. I do hear that you won't be there, Mr. McCown. I do understand that. So that's why I'm going to kind of marinate on that very quickly. But I did want to say that, you know, I disappointed that we're considering yet another extension for this. Thank you.
thank you for your comments. Supervisor Perez.
Let me just state that appreciate the comments from all my colleagues. I would have voted to support to move this forward to set the public hearing, because all we're doing is setting a public hearing. We're not necessarily making a decision. It's that public hearing in which potentially we could make a decision or not. We can make a decision to continue, we can make a decision to amend, we can make a decision keep it as is, support or not. But the fact is that I appreciate the expertise and knowledge and experience our Mayor McKellen. And I really do think it's important, as he being the chairman, be involved in this conversation. And so I will support the motion, but just let folks know, though, that setting a public hearing doesn't mean that we're making a decision, other than making sure that we're beginning to hear the conversation, which is needed. That will also get the ball rolling. Sometimes what I've learned in the legislature is that you kind of gotta submit some language in order to get the wheels turning, to get the heads turned. But with that being said, I support the motion and look forward to a conversation as opposed to in April, to in May.
Thank you, Supervisor. Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez.
Thank you. I also support the motion being proposed. I continue to be concerned regarding the cost implications of the rule, and particularly want to understand the impact on low-income housing and apartments, not only in my city, as we are reaching out to all the apartment property owners in our city, and low-income housing properties, seniors, to ask about the impacts on them, so that we can understand at a city level, as a neighborhood level, at a just general impact and the implications. We need time, and I think we're not kicking the can down the road by any means. We can take this opportunity of having additional time to do the good work of the outreach, which I know our staff is embarking on, but I would ask that we maybe understand a little bit more about the nature of the outreach currently by AQMD staff, particularly to potentially impacted property owners. And also, I'm concerned over the points raised previously regarding state laws regarding potential evictions. And I want to believe our staff needs more time to explore this and report back to us on these implications as well. It's noteworthy that cities have not received this information well thus far as Orange County City's representative. And I think it transcends the Orange County cities, who it's noteworthy that the Orange County Council of Governments, when they heard about this, have gone on the record expressing concerns and opposition. I'll defer to some of the reports I heard about other COGs. I believe the San Bernardino Council of Governments also expressed concern. So that gives us, I think, a great opportunity here between now and May to really understand the nature of those concerns. And at a city level, I would hope that we are doing everything we can at the AQMD level to utilize COGS as a means to make that outreach and understand at a city level. Clearly, I would actually like to know, as best we can, every apartment community in our service area, in every city, that we are asking very specifically, in your city, have you contacted your apartment property owners? Do they know about this? What are they saying for their property specifically about the implications and costs? Low-income housing in your community, what are you hearing about the cost implications to your communities? Seniors, what are your seniors saying? Every city, we should be utilizing collaborative opportunities with each COG to find out that information. So I don't see this as delays for delay's sake. I see this as a great opportunity to get down to that level of detail so that we can make that as informed decision as possible. Thank you.
Supervisor Hagman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just support and bump it up. I just also want to reach out because I was participant in the SBCTA COG meeting. And I know that SCAG was dark in this month. I'm hoping that between now and then you can make the same presentation to that. And if you need help scheduling, you know who to call. So we'll get you in there, okay? I think for February or March.
I think it is, I agree. I think it's prudent to have a discussion here at headquarters and make sure that we give as many opportunities to speak on such an important item. So with that, I'm going to ask for a roll call and do support the item.
Mayor Locke Dawson.
Aye.
Supervisor Hagman. Board Member Krakoff. Board Member Krakoff. Councilmember McCallum.
Yes.
Supervisor Mitchell.
Yes.
Board Member Padilla Campos.
Yes.
Supervisor Perez.
Yes.
Councilmember Rahman is absent. Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez.
Yes.
Supervisor Wagner. Vice Chair Cacciodi.
Yes.
Chair Delgado.
Yes.
Board Member Krakoff. Okay, one more. Board Member Krakoff is absent. So the motion passes 10-0 with 2 absent.
Thank you. Now I'm going to take item 33 because we do have somebody, we have a number of speakers who have requested that one. So that is a public hearing item. It's the last and best final offer on the telework program policy, and I'll give everybody a minute to convene on that. So staff, would you like to make a presentation or?
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. No presentation from staff, just to introduce the item. This item is to hold a public hearing on negotiations impasse with the Professional Employees Association on the district's telework program policy. Staff's proposal and recommendation is to approve the imposition of management's last best and final offer on a revised telework program policy and to authorize the executive officer to implement the revised program policy for professional unit employees.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, so I'm going to open that up unless there's any questions from the board ahead of public comment. Okay. Seeing none, there is a speaker here live who'd like to speak. We have Brian. Brian, I'm not going to butcher your last name.
Vlasic? I have a Vlasic in South Pasadena, maybe why.
Okay. Oh, here he comes. Sorry, I know we went out of order, so. And we are taking speakers online. If you'd like to raise your hand, we will move to that next.
All right, good morning, members of the board. My name is, let me catch my breath. I ran from downstairs. My name is Brian Vlasic. I'm a air quality specialist in MAD, a 25-year veteran of this agency, and the president of the SCPA bargaining unit. I want to acknowledge our support of all the board members. Thank you. Directly impacted by the fires, and we're encouraged by your participation in today's hearing. Thank you for coming today to weigh in on this. I want to provide a comment on the, catch my breath, on the revised telework policy, which has been in negotiations with our unit since August. These negotiations have been unable to reach an agreement and resulted in mediation and a fact-finding hearing in November. The fact-finding report has been submitted to the board for review, and as recommended by the impasse procedure in the Employee Relations Resolution, SEPA provided a comment letter to the governing board in which our positions have been summarized. SEPA is concerned by the recommendations that the recommendations of the fact-finding report have not been reflected in the revised policy. So I'll give you a quick summary of some of those recommendations. Number one, the fact-finder report finds that 50% on-site and 50% telework is a reasonable standard based on comparable agencies, but our comment letter identifies some problems with that methodology, and that's explained in more detail in our letter. Number two, with respect to the level of approval of a telework application, the fact finder agrees with SCPA that manager approval is a standard for most agencies. SCPA recommends that the revised policy explicitly include managers in the approval authority. Number three, the fact finder recommends that the denial of a telework application include the reasons for denial in writing, and this should be included in the policy. Number four, the fact finder recommends that the denial of a telework application is appealable, and SEPA recommends an appeal should be afforded to all telework options. And finally, number five, the fact finder agrees with SEPA that employees subject to the home office inspection are provided adequate notice in writing and the names of the persons conducting the inspection. Finally, SCPA urges the board to recommend the last best and final offer incorporate all recommendations identified in the fact-finding report.
Wrap it up.
Thank you. And if possible, consider modifying the last best and final offer to address changes and concerns addressed in the SCPA report. And that's all contained in the board letter that we sent to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brian, for hustling down here. Thanks a lot. Go to the online. Thank you, Madam Chair. We've got a number of speakers. And the first one will be Dr. Melissa Maestas. Doctor, go ahead, please. And after the next speaker, when Nish is done, we'll cut off public comment at that point. But so you've got some time if you want to speak. Get ready to raise your hand because after Nish, we'll be cutting off public comment. Dr. Melissa, go ahead, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Hello, my name is Dr. Melissa Mestis. I am an air quality specialist and an at-large representative in the South Coast Professional Employees Association. First, I would like to offer my condolences for everyone impacted by the ongoing fires. Today, I am asking you to either bring the proposed changes for the telework policy in line with the recommendations of the fact-finding report, or better yet, just keep the telework policy that we've had for the past few years. South Coast AQMD's mission is to clean the air and protect the health of all residents in the South Coast Air District through practical and innovative strategies. It is unclear to me how the proposed changes to the telework policy align with the agency's mission. Requiring staff to commute to the office more frequently inherently leads to more emissions from vehicles. Even if all staff drove electric vehicles, you would still be increasing brake and tire wear emissions in our basin. The government of Los Angeles County cites South Coast AQMD Rule 2202 in their telework policy. Their policy also states that, quote, the Los Angeles County Telework Program was initially conceived in 1989 to support the achievement of the county's regional clean air and traffic mitigation goals, end quote. The Bay Area AQMD telework policy allows non-scheduled teleworking on Spare the Air days. The Spare the Air program is similar to our Check Before You Burn program. Bay Area's policy is a prime example of an air quality agency aligning its actions with its mission of cleaning the air. The telework policy for Bay Area is part of their MOU, which is something that our union asked for in the last negotiations. The Sacramento Metro Air District policy lists lower transportation-related emissions and vehicle miles traveled at the top of their list of reasons for allowing teleworking. Requiring regular in-office work prevents the agency from fully representing the people of the jurisdiction we serve. For example, it is more than a 2-hour drive one way from headquarters to Mecca at the north shore of the Salton Sea, which is an area with a lot of air pollution problems. But the people who live there cannot be adequately represented among our staff because it is not reasonable to commute that many hours on a regular basis. A News Channel 3 article from August 15th, 2024 about dust in Coachella Valley quotes Tom Kirk of the Coachella Valley Association of Governments, or CVAG, commenting about South Coast AQMD, saying, quote, "They have close to 500 people that focus on air quality every day. We don't have any in Coachella Valley," end quote. I am asking you to align the actions of South Coast AQMD with its stated mission and not impose the changes to the telework policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Nish, and after Nish concludes, we cut off public comment. Go ahead, Nish.
Hi, everybody. Before I begin, I just want to give my thoughts to everybody impacted by the fires today or this week. This has been a terrible week for our region, and I'm heartbroken for my city. Dear members of the board, my name is Nish Krishnamurthy, and I'm an air quality specialist in diversity, equity, and inclusion with community air programs and an at-large member of the South Coast Professional Employees Association. Over the course of numerous meetings stretching over a year and a half, PEA has sought to negotiate with management and provide comment on their proposed changes to the telework policy. Although PEA seeks to keep the current policy, we nevertheless propose several other reasonable measures in an effort to achieve a middle ground, all of which were rejected and not included in management's last best and final offer. One request was to not require those employees who change positions to have to reapply to the telework program, since the risk of losing their current telework arrangement could discourage them from seeking promotions or to lose out on potential opportunities. When considering the operational needs of the new position, we think it's reasonable that an employee's existing telework arrangement be honored to the extent possible. Another measure which was requested was to lower the telework schedule approval down to the managerial level, as they are the most familiar with the operational needs of their staff. Further, denials of an employee's telework application should be provided to them in writing and should be both appealable and grievable to the level above the approval authority for a given telework option. Also, as an air quality regulatory agency, the benefits from the telework program, such as emissions reductions, commute time avoided, and decrease in miles traveled, should be made public on our website so that we can lead and serve as an example for other large employers in our area. Finally, we are seeking assurances that management won't further reduce telework options anytime soon. While management has verbally made such commitments for the stability of our members, need to help make important life decisions such as where to live, we request guarantees that the policy at least run for the duration of our current MOU, which expires in 2027. The changes we seek are reasonable and consistent with many of the fact finders' assessments. As you make your decision, we ask that you consider the benefits to air quality, productivity, and quality of life that comes with teleworking. Thank you.
Thank you, Nish. Public comment is now cut off. Our last speaker will be Dan Penoyer, but our next speaker is Professor Clinton Schmidt. Professor, go ahead, please.
Good morning. I'd first like to state for the record that as a Diamond Bar resident and a member of the public, I am highly in favor of any policy that will reduce the traffic already present on our congested roadways, in particularly the clogged 5760 interchange right outside of the South Coast headquarters, which most commuters would have to travel through. It's not a good look for an air quality agency to be requiring other members of the public, agencies, companies to be reducing their emissions while simultaneously enacting policies that will increase their own emissions. It's not a great look. It seems a bit hypocritical, in fact. Additionally, earlier in the meeting, the board itself maintained that they are able to conduct meetings remotely without a negative impact from the desert. The disparity of messaging of what's good for management versus what's good for employees is a bit staggering. As an adjunct professor at a local community college and other schools in other states, I can attest that remote learning for students was in demand pre-pandemic and has remained high in demand even after campuses reopen. Remote learning is a large part of many students' education today. This is the world we now live in. As they complete their degrees and seek employment, the ability to continue to work remotely is a large consideration for many, especially the best and the brightest. While it may be tempting to try to return to nostalgic days of pre-pandemic work structures, that Pandora's box has been opened. During the pandemic, across the board, we heard how successful work from home and telework policies were. Now, there seems to be a broad decision by employers that everyone needs to be in office without giving specific justifications beyond vague explanations of work culture. And that seems to be what's going on here as well. Meanwhile, when you do go back in person, oftentimes you just end up in Zoom meetings anyway. Requiring across the board in-office work without specific job critical functions is a solution in search of a problem. And I myself have benefited from broad telework policies pre-pandemic and continue to do so today. And I encourage the board to not only keep the current telework policy for their employees, but in fact expand it to full-time work from home policies available to anyone that doesn't have a critical function that needs to be completed on site. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Bettina Burley Sanchez. Bettina, go ahead, please.
Hello, thank you for this opportunity to speak up. My name is Bettina Burley Sanchez. I recently stepped down as the president of the Professional Employees Association, and I currently hold an at-large board member position. Last year, a joint labor management telework committee was utilized to establish a new telework policy at the district's behest. The committee held meetings, conducted employee surveys, etc., and independent of the feedback received, a decision to move from a standard 3-day telework policy to a standard 2-day telework policy was made. At the very least, this change doubles the commute time and expense that every affected employee will be personally responsible for. And for what work gain or goal? We were told simply camaraderie was the reason the district was seeking to force people back to the office. Seeing this as a non-productive change with no actual in-person or virtual need or deficiency presented by management, the PEA demanded that the matter be negotiated. Since then, impasse has been reached. Mediation has been attempted unsuccessfully, and fact-finding hearing has been conducted, which includes a report from the fact finder that was bought and paid for with the hard-earned dollars of the PEA membership and the district. I'm speaking to you today to let you know specifically that the Professional Employees Association is urging the governing board to refrain from enacting the 2024 revisions to Policy 46 at this time. Why? Because it is very easy to see that these changes will most definitely result in negative outcomes for the district and its employees that will have lasting effects and very possibly end up impacting the communities we serve. In the words of real-life experts in the field of leadership, an article from the spring 2024 edition of the Journal of Business Leadership states that collaboration, teamwork, or engagement are not valid reasons to implement return to office policies, and that it is actually the responsibility of senior leadership to put forth the effort needed to create an environment that makes people want to come to work. The PEA wholeheartedly agrees with this sentiment. Please consider holding off implementing the 2024 version of Policy 46 and supporting the creation of a new version that implements the very appropriate recommendations from the fact-finding report provided. Even today, the governing board is proving to us that they can continue to get their work done in a timely fashion while some people are in person and some people are working remotely. We sincerely thank you for your service and thank you for your consideration in this matter.
Thank you, Bettina. Next speaker is Harvey Etter. Harvey, go ahead, please.
Hello, am I being heard?
Yes.
Yes. Good morning again. My name is Harvey Etter. I'm speaking for myself and for the Public Solar Power Coalition. I'm real concerned, about the dynamics here, and the remote, saving emissions, and the reach out, to the areas where people live, like out in Chowchilla, etc. I see an opportunity here. I'm concerned about the dynamics of employees and decision making and staff. Anyway, especially our concern is equity, solar equity, and as rapidly as possible. But we don't see these things happening. So an opportunity to try to feed and understand the structures and the dynamics of the employees and whatnot, and to extend to other districts and carve in the dynamics of what are happening with AI and effect on information like Nexus, Harari, and other things, and to try to reorganize cultural, social structures, and that's what they're talking about, to facilitate this and to get decision-making back down to democracy and the people as much as possible, allowing for individualism and the advantages of innovation and all this entrepreneurship and trying to meld them together. So I see there's a whole new theory and application of management practices implementations, and that we ought to have some kind of structure within the dynamics here to allow for that and to emphasize that and facilitate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Harvey. Next speaker, Kevin Katz. Kevin, go ahead.
Hi, am I being heard?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. Good morning, esteemed members of the Governing Board. My name is Kevin Katz, and I am a member and at-large representative for the South Coast Professional Employees Association. First of all, I'd like to express my condolences to those who have lost their homes and their livelihoods, and family members and friends in the recent fires that have devastated our region. All of our hearts go out to you from the PEA, including some of the members of the board who have been affected. As you consider item 33 on today's agenda, I want you to see the item through the lens of the mission of this agency. The mission of the South Coast AQMD is to clean the air and protect the health of all residents of the district through practical and innovative strategies. What I will tell you is that it is impossible to implement those strategies without an experienced staff. In 2022, 10% of the district's workforce either retired or resigned. This coincided with the planning and implementation of the return to office for much of the district's staff after a long period of total remote work. The PEA believes that a similar exodus of staff will follow further curtailment of the telework policy at the district as proposed by management. Right now, I can tell you that staff and management are both striving to combat a perceived dip in productivity at the district. We're giving it our all. In every monthly update to the Stationary Source Committee on the PEP program, the Permitting Enhancement Program that was initiated by the chair and has done great work so far, the district cites maintaining a low vacancy rate with trained and experienced staff as the biggest factor in maintaining high productivity. I assert that any productivity issues are a symptom of accelerated staff turnover that can at least partially be attributed to changes in the teleworking policy that we've seen as of late, and not a symptom of teleworking at the district itself. And I implore you to advocate for policies that address these issues, that don't exacerbate these issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker is Gurpreet Mathu. Gurpreet, go ahead, please.
Hi, am I being heard?
Yes.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Gurpreet Mathu. I'm Vice President of SCPEA. First, I'd like to offer my condolences and sympathies to those affected by the wildfires. I don't want to continue. I might start crying. I'm here to talk about management's last best and final offer in regards to the telework program, which I'm going to refer to as the LBFO. I ask that you please do not impose the LBFO as it is written, and that you instead, at the very least, instruct management to modify the LBFO to address the deficiencies noted in the fact finder's report. And if it's possible, I ask that you also consider modifying the LBFO to address the comments and concerns outlined in SCPEA's report. that was provided to you December 30th. I also want to highlight a few other related issues. First off, I'd like you to be aware that the Joint Labor Management Committee tasked to review the telework policy does not have a voting process and is advisory at best. Management's background document for this agenda item claims that the bargaining units were in consensus with these changes, with the exception of PEA. However, a vote was never taken, and in the meetings, I had actually tried to put the matter to a vote, and they refused. So I don't understand how they can claim to have a consensus when a vote was never taken and they refuse to put it to a vote. Secondly, management's LBFO sets limits on how often an employee can telework in a given week or month and requires telework applications to be approved either by the department head, the chief operating officer, or the executive officer. This requirement is inconsistent with the practices at comparable agencies and this very own agency's field staff telework policy. The field staff telework policy at this agency does not set a limit on telework days, and it only requires supervisor and/or manager approval. Why is it that our applications are subject to executive level approval and scrutiny when others just need supervisor or manager approval? Lastly, I want to state that during negotiations in August, we had requested information from management to better understand the basis for the policy change and their upcoming plans to achieve their stated goals, like increased camaraderie. The following statements paraphrase the questions we asked and the responses we received from them. First, we asked, do you have any detailed plans on how you will use employee in-office days to achieve your stated goals? They stated they have no responsive documents for the request. We then asked, do you have any qualitative or quantitative data used to make the decision to change the approval level for a 3-day telework policy from a department head to the chief operating officer? Again, no response. We asked if they had any qualitative data or quantitative data to base their decision to move from a 3-day standard to a 2-day standard. No response. They didn't think this through. I don't have enough time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Sherry Belisi. Sherry, go ahead, please.
Good morning. Am I being heard? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. First, I would like to express condolences and sympathy to those who have lost their home, to those who have been displaced, and to those who have been impacted by the fires. My name is Sherry Belisi. I'm the treasurer of the SCPA, and I will be reading a letter from a member who would like to remain anonymous. With regards to imposing management's last best and final offer, LBFO, I kindly ask the board to consider SCPA's request to incorporate the fact finders' recommendations to the proposed new telework policy. I speak before you today because I'm thinking about the future of this agency, including my future with AQMD. I am one of many young professionals who are within their first 5 years working at AQMD. I love this agency and our mission, and I want this place to be where I stay for my whole career. Since 2020, housing prices have skyrocketed to the all-time highs. In November's board meeting, Supervisor Perez mentioned that his son couldn't afford a $500,000 home in Coachella. And I would like to say, me too. I couldn't purchase a home today without being house poor. Similarly, rents have gone up. With the current housing supply and demand trends, purchasing, let alone renting near headquarters, has become more and more of an impossible task. Young employees such as myself are being pushed further away from our headquarters. AQMD's jurisdiction spans across 4 counties, so ideally our workforce should live in the 4 counties. We only have one headquarter, in Diamond Bar. That means working at headquarter is not equal for everyone. Management's LBFO will only serve to restrict employees who can only afford to live at a distance from headquarters. I fear that if the LBFO is imposed, the day will come when we have to choose between affording a home and working for AQMD. I want to keep working here, but I want to know if I ever moved further away that I could still work at AQMD without strenuous impacts on my day-to-day life. I am not asking the board or management to bring down housing prices or to give me a home. However, I do ask that AQMD allow workers to have a telework policy that allows them to continue working at AQMD despite current economic trends and geographic differences by adopting the fact finders and PA's request to the telework policy as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Justin Crane. Justin, go ahead, please.
Good morning. My name is Justin Crane, and I'm legal counsel for the SCPEA. I've been involved in the negotiations over this impending change since last summer. What has struck me during the entire time I've been involved has been management's unwillingness to take the concerns of the employees into account. The association has been met with the disingenuous statement of, "We hear you, but no," time and time again. This hasn't been a real effort for management to come to an agreement with the association. From the start, this has been management stating this is the new policy. You can either agree to it or it will be forced upon you. So here we are today, where the board is being asked to force this policy upon its employees. As you've heard, the association has asked for any information as to why. There's been no response. Why is there no response? Because the reason is arbitrary. It's nostalgia. It doesn't meet with the reality of the current workforce. But management's insistence for the change continued on through the impasse procedures. The fact finder recommended a few very minor changes. Management refused. The employee relations resolution requires that within 7 days of the fact finder report, the quote, "parties shall attempt to reach an agreement by negotiations." We were told we will meet with you, but there will be no negotiating, and the district will be moving from a 3-day telework week to a 2-day telework week. Never mind that 30% of the employees have stated they intend on leaving over the change. We've already seen this happen once when the return to work order came out in 2022. Never mind that for the past almost 5 years, when more than half of your staff was hired, they've known nothing but primarily working remotely. Never mind that the AQMD is doubling the time in which its own employees are commuting. What the district has right now is a teleworking practice that is working. There is no reason that management has cited to change that. As such, we urge the board to reject this change in policy, or at the very least, adopt the recommendations of the fact finder. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Our final speaker in this item is Dan Penoyer. Dan, go ahead, please.
Good morning. First, I want to thank everyone for being here in light of the terrible fires burning around the city. My heart goes out to everyone who's been displaced as a result. My name is Dan Penoyer. I'm a member of the SCPEA, and rather than continue to emphasize the benefits that teleworking has on retention and employee morale and work performance, which all of my fellow members have already discussed, I want to talk about the positive impacts that teleworking could also have on the district's budget. In our recent SCPEA survey, a majority of our members indicated a willingness to hotel their desk space, meaning that many employees could use the same space on different days, which would allow the district to meaningfully reduce its real estate usage and expenses. South Coast AQMD's own internal budget projections indicate that the agency will not be running a balanced budget for any of the next 5 years. I'm referring here to slide 8 of the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget presentation. This means that the agency must either cut costs or increase revenue through higher fees on regulated entities. Making the existing telework policy permanent would allow the district to utilize our space more efficiently and lease out that unused space. If we were able to just lease out 15% of the square footage in our building here in Diamond Bar, that would be enough to fully offset the forecasted budget deficit in 2024 and 2025. I encourage management and the board to hear our concerns, both about turnover and employee morale with the proposed teleworking policy, and also think more creatively about a solution that would better serve both your employees and the industries that we regulate. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dan. That completes public comment.
Okay, before we, I'm closing the public hearing on this item. And before we have a discussion, I wanted, John, if you could just quickly summarize, essentially, if I understand correctly, we have a 1-day in-person policy now, and we'd like to go to 2.
Essentially, right now, the standard is a 3-day telework, 1-day in office schedule. The proposal in the LBFO would move that to a 2 days in office, 2-day telework schedule.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember McCallum?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move the item.
Move staff recommendation? Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Supervisor Hagman, did you have a comment or question? Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right. I'm going to support staff's recommendation but I wanted to acknowledge that our staff is the critical life force of our agency. We support all your hard efforts, but I do think coming in 2 days a week is a fair telecommute policy. All right, roll call, please.
Mayor Loftawson? Aye. Supervisor Hagman? Board Member Krakoff is absent. Councilmember McCowan?
Yes.
Supervisor Mitchell?
Aye.
Board Member Padilla Campos?
Yes.
Supervisor Perez?
Aye.
Councilmember Rahman is absent. Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Wagner? Vice Chair Caciotti?
Yes.
And Chair Delgado?
Yes.
Motion passes 10-0 with 2 absent.
Okay, now we're back to item 30, which is a staff presentation on the GoZero.
Great. Good morning, Chair and board members. I'm here to present to you our recommendations for the third-party contractor for our GoZero incentive program. Next slide, please. Okay, by way of background, as you know, our 2022 AQMD sought reductions in order to meet the federal air quality standards. In those cases, we were looking to seek opportunities in the zero-emission technology realm where feasible. Some of the focus has been on space and water heating, as we've been discussing, and we also recognize in that realm that there's a number of cost concerns. So with the GoZero incentivized program, the idea is to encourage that early deployment of these types of technologies. We're also trying to recognize the fact that our region is unduly burdened with a lot of overburdened communities, and that there needs to be a special attention and focus on that. And as the board already knows, we've allocated those directions of additional funds in those areas. So I'll touch on those in a moment. This is what we would consider a pilot program. So right now we're initiating a $21 million incentive fund, but looking to expand that. But we first want to kind of see how things are working out there. For example, even the amount of the rebates, where they're going, how the outreach is going, et cetera. We did present this at the committee in last month. Oh, I can say that now, in December. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the overview of the program. Again, 21 million, breaking it down into various areas, into different buckets or sub-projects, focusing on single-family housing, multifamily housing, small businesses, as well as installer training and outreach. Next slide, please. So with our usual process and procedure that we go with proposals, we did send out the proposal, have an extensive outreach, and you can see that all listed there on the left. We did have 7 bidders that did apply for various sub-projects. We gave contractors the ability to bid on one sub-project or a number of those, and so we went through that process of review. Speaking of which, we had 5 members of a panel, 2 different divisions in our agency, as well as someone from CARB to review all that, and that's how we got to our conclusion, which I'll present to you in a moment. Next slide, please. In the midst of that review, I know there's an interest in knowing what kind of folks were out there that bidded on the proposal. And we were really lucky. It was a real variety out there. We had some nonprofits, local businesses, small businesses, minority women-owned businesses, and also various locations of experience. And they really highlighted that for us, and it was made a kind of an exciting process. Next slide, please. So with regards to our specific recommendation, in looking at the different sub-projects, we really wanted to focus in on the strengths. I mean, this is going to be the really important critical element to make sure we have a successful program. And so there's groups like, for example, the Electric and Gas Industries Association, or EGIA. These folks are the ones that actually successfully implemented our previous furnace program. They were focused back then on single-family housing, so that's the real strength with that group. And so we thought it was really important to award them to continue that great work. And then there's a group called Wilden Energy Solutions. So they're a local group with us. But what's really great about their background is that they have a lot of high technical experience in this, as well as implementation. I'm going to forget the statistic, but they actually implemented the commercial energy efficiency program through SCE. And they were able, over a 2-year period, transition commercial properties, 840 heat pump water heaters into commercial properties successfully. So that's a real good plus on the work that they do. We do recognize that places like multifamily, like apartment buildings, and as well as small businesses are a little bit different than single family housing. So we really wanted to focus in on that level of expertise and, again, achieving a goal of success. The next group we were looking at was on both the installer training. This is another local group. Energy Coalition with a lot of experience out there already as part of their services in doing training programs. They believe that with this amount of monies, they're projecting over a 3 or 4 year period to be able to train over 700 contractors in this field. So we really think this is a really great use of that money. They're also really great at outreach as well. They have a whole series of programs working with various communities, and they demonstrated that in their bid. They do funding, planning, policy, education, marketing, et cetera. So it's a really real robust group that does a lot of this work, directly what we're talking about. But I want to add in here the last group, Community Connections. What really got us about Community Connections is all of their work that they've done locally. And there's also some other strengths. They've been involved in a lot of multicultural events. They're very aware of different folks out there and their needs, but also the multitude of languages that they have expertise in as well. So that was really exciting and incentivized us to award them a portion of this program as well. Next slide, please. So with regards to next steps, today we're looking to seek your approval for those selections. We want to launch the program. Of course, we'll be meeting with them. We're already setting up some kickoff meetings with them to discuss what they're working on. A lot of these groups will be working on portals for applicants to go to. And then, of course, we want to have, I think it was as suggested by one of our board members at the committee, to come back in and do a check-in. So we think that was a really great recommendation, and we plan to do that. And that concludes my presentation.
Board members, any questions or comments? All right, is there a motion that somebody can offer?
Move approval of staff
Second.
recommendation.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
So
Thank
let's,
you.
I think there's public comment on this.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
One hand.
This is, oh. Yeah, there's one hand, Mr. Eder.
Harvey, go ahead, please.
Hello, am I being heard?
Yes.
Okay. I'm my name's Harvey Eder. I'm speaking for myself and for the Public Solar Power Coalition. Eder Solar. We've been involved in solar for a long time and seeing changes happen. We were, I believe, did the first education job in solar in the state as the solar education specialist for Santa Cruz County in 1977 and 78. And we've talked on that and the need for education, that this should be integrated into our existing school systems and community colleges. I heard nothing about that. Okay. I'm concerned about these industry groups like this gas and electric association. One's 9 million, the other's 10 million. These are for administrative. Administrative could be 5–10%. So that's multiplied by, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars and to assist for applications and this kind of thing. And then there's interest on financing. These things are going to be financed. I don't know the interface with the utilities. It's not explained. Investor-owned utilities versus public power. We got the largest public power entity, LADVP, and they're going gangbusters on it supposedly, and want to do community solar. So we want to do reach out to them, and this is official right now. There's a new woman that works for these different IOUs and is now doing this and put a shot on it. Okay. So the issue of this is required by CEQA and NEPA that they get into under socioeconomic, the political economic control issues. And this has been in recent state legislation, and it's in the guidelines. Okay, for CEQA, and we're incorporating it by reference here, and that's extremely important because this has not been done. The 40% that they say, the executive order for 617 communities and stuff is just to have projects of the money spent there. But and the theory that the emissions will go down, we're saying at least 80%, up to 90, 100 involve the unions and communities and financing and co-ops and decision-making, who owns and controls this. And with the inequity that we've seen, and we brought this in the record and incorporating the French economist Piketty for 14 and 20 capital in the 20th century and capital and ideology, that 2/3 of the country in the last 50 years, and incorporating the work by Robert Reich and all of his podcasts and etc. The Coffee Clutch, check it out. That this stuff has to be dealt with now. There's been no increase in income or equity, and that's threatening our democracy. and we're seeing the populace from the left and right, etc. And productivity's gone up, and that's continuing to go up. This stuff with AI, how that's developed and controlled, and who gets control of it, it's got to bring in the folks downstairs and to do it in patents and copyrights and all the stuff that's done with the ports and that the deal.
Thank you, Harvey. That concludes public comment, Madam Chair.
All right. Well, before we take a roll call, I just wanted to thank staff for a robust effort to get the word out about these contracts, and I'm happy with the selection. So excited to see how it rolls out. All right, roll call, please.
Mayor Locke Dawson.
Oh,
Aye.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Board Member Padilla has their hand raised.
I apologize. I sort of just did that. I know we heard this at Stationary Source, and I had mentioned something about evaluating the progress of these folks that we've selected to ensure that they are reaching folks, they are getting these incentives out. And I'm sorry if I missed it in the report, but just wanted to make sure that that is something that would be part of the contracts that we would be signing with them.
Yeah, so Steph just mentioned that they added that to the process, and
I'm
they
sorry.
like recommend. No problem.
I had to read. I knew I had missed something. I stepped away from the restroom, but I just wanted to make sure. I appreciate the confirmation, and I'm ready to vote. Apologize for that.
Thank you. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead with the roll call.
Mayor Locke Dawson.
Aye.
Supervisor Hagman. Board Member Krakoff is absent. Councilmember McCallan.
Yes.
Supervisor Mitchell. Supervisor Mitchell.
Yes.
Board Member Padilla Campos.
Yes.
Supervisor Perez.
Yes.
Councilmember Rahman is absent. Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez.
Yes.
Supervisor Wagner. Vice Chair Caciotti.
Yes.
And Chair Delgado.
Yes.
Motion passes 10-0, 2 absent.
All right, thank you. Mike Morris is going to take us through 2 public hearings. They both sound exciting. I mean, like everybody's lined up, ready to go.
Exactly. So the first of the 2 administrative rules that I'll be talking to you about quickly is Rule 1179. Next slide, please. So this rule was adopted in 2020. It's a rule that regulates NOx for combustion equipment at sewage treatment plants. It does reference another rule, 1110.2. There were some erroneous references in that rule language. So next slide, please. We're here today to fix those references, and you can see them up there. Next slide, please. And because it is administrative, there are no impacts to any of the industries, no emission reductions, and we'll be exempting that through the CEQA process. Next slide, please. And so we recommend that you amend Rule 1179.1 as requested. Thank you.
Thank you for that. With that, I'll open the public hearing. I don't see anybody signed up to speak here live, but I will turn it over to the Vice Chair.
There's one speaker, Mr. Eder. Harvey, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, am I being heard?
Yes, Harvey.
Yes, good morning. My name's Harvey Eder. I'm speaking for myself and for the Public Solar Power Coalition, Eder Solar, like-minded folks, and etc. I'm trying to get a hold of exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about not NOx emissions from power, from burning. I'd like to ask staff. There was a very sparse report. What percentage of NOx comes from these public facilities, and what is it in? How is it? Is it in throughput through flow rates, acre feet of sewage, or is it kilowatt hours, megawatt hours, and in terms of tons of emissions of NOx, and how does this interplay with the SIP and the FIP, etc.? So I think these are important things, and to understand this, and what alternatives are there, if any, et cetera, et cetera. So can that be addressed? Not just making comments that should be for answering questions. And I think that the presentation was deficient. And these are basic questions. I imagine I would imagine if I was a member of the decision-making body, I'd be interested in. Thank you.
Thank you, Harvey.
Question.
That concludes our public comment.
Is there an answer on that?
Well, I would just say that that again, this proposal we're bringing here is to correct some erroneous references. The rule has not changed as far as any of the existing requirements and NOx emission or NOx limits that are on those facilities.
Thank you. All right, with that, I will close public comment for the public hearing, and we have Mayor Locke Dawson who wants to speak.
I just want to move approval.
Perfect.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Roll call, please.
Mayor Locke Dawson,
Aye.
Supervisor Hackman, Board Member Krakoff is absent, Councilmember McCowan,
Yes.
Supervisor Mitchell,
Yes.
Board Member Padilla Campos,
Yes.
Supervisor Perez,
Yes. Yes.
Councilmember Rahman is absent, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez,
Yes.
Supervisor Wagner, Vice Chair Caciotti.
Yes.
And Chair Delgado.
Yes.
Motion passes 10-0, 2 absent.
Okay, and that takes us to our final item, public hearing, item number 32.
Thank you. So this is regarding our Regulation 30 for our Title V permits. Next slide, please. So our Regulation 30 is our robust accumulation of rules that encompass our Title V permitting process. It's specifically our Rule 3002 requires facilities to acquire a Title V permit and meet the conditions. And within Rule 3002, there are two important provisions. One is the emergency affirmative defense provision, which allows facilities to declare that they're violating a rule for an emergency purpose and avoid having enforcement action taken upon them. And the second is our greenhouse gas tailoring rule provision, which says that certain facilities, if they emit enough greenhouse gases, would be subject to Title V. Next slide, please. So there were some court rulings that changed those two provisions. The U.S. Court of Appeals did determine that the EPA had some comments about that affirmative defense provision, and the U.S. EPA then removed the emergency defense provision in Title V permits. And the U.S. Supreme Court did rule that greenhouse gases should not be used for determining Title V applicability. Next slide, please. So these amendments basically incorporate those court rulings. In Rule 3002, we'll be removing the emergency affirmative defense provision. We'll also be taking out the greenhouse gas tailoring provision. There are some other rules that need to be changed that reference those provisions, and so they're listed at the bottom of this slide. Next slide, please. This is an administrative rule as well. We don't expect any emission changes because of this and no socioeconomic impact. Next slide, please. And so we recommend that you adopt the changes to our Regulation 30. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'll open the public for public comment this hearing. There's nobody here to speak, and we have somebody's hand raised online.
One speaker, Madam Chair, Mr. Eder. Harvey, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, am I being heard?
Yes, go ahead, Harvey.
Okay, good morning. My name's Harvey Eder. I'm the founder and director of Public Solar Power Coalition. I'm speaking for myself and PSBC and Eder Solar, like-minded folks in the division. Okay, I think I've heard about this going on. I'm not familiar. I'd like to know when this came down, the Supreme Court decision, and what did we do to prevent it and other folks? And is it covered under the exception for climate stuff where 1,700 states can join us for emissions and doing solar and all this? Can that be re-argued? Can it be done through state law and state courts and associations? And do we have Elon Musk on our side talking to the key man, or you know, what's up? You know, anyway, got big concerns about this, and when it comes to Title V, that all these places have to be looking, all the whole permitting process that was just reevaluated has to be redone again.
Mr. Eder, I'd encourage you to
We're
keep your
evaluating that.
comments
Okay.
solely to this item. Thank you.
Harvey, go ahead, please focus. on this
Okay,
item.
also, okay. Hello, I'm being heard? Okay. I heard no discussion of BART. We've been talking for decades about best available
you. We can move
retrofit
on.
control technology.
Thank you so much, Harvey.
Okay, with that, I'll close the public hearing. Board members?
I'll move it.
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Mayor Locke Dawson,
Aye.
Supervisor Hackman. Board Member Crackoff is absent. Councilmember McCallan,
Yes.
Supervisor Mitchell,
Yes.
Board Member Padilla Campos,
Yes.
Supervisor Perez,
Yes.
Councilmember Rahman is absent. Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez,
Yes?
Supervisor Wagner, Vice Chair Caciotti,
Yes.
and Chair Delgado.
Yes.
Motion passes 10-0 with 2 absent.
All right, we don't have closed session today, but I just wanted to thank everybody for participating in the meeting and hope you all stay safe and healthy. All right, see you next month.
Thank you, everybody.